Hi everyone, Mike Forster here and welcome to Depression Quest. Now before I begin, a quick trigger warning. As it states on the page in front of you, this game deals with depression. If you are currently struggling with mental illness, whether it be depression or any other type of mental illness, and you are triggered by hearing or seeing about other people with the illnesses, then please don't watch this video. Instead, there's plenty of help and support out there. The Samaritans are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 116123. There's also your GP, your local doctor, and you can self-refer yourself on the NHS website to see a counsellor if you need to. That being said, let's see what Depression Quest is all about. So, as far as I'm aware, Depression Quest is written from a non-fiction point of view. So, as it states there in the corner, Zoe Quinn, Patrick, Lindsey and Isaac Shankler. I'm assuming, as I don't know them personally, that this is written from either their own personal experience or experiences they've had with people they know. What I will say straight away is that it's incredibly brave of them to do this. One of the hardest things to do with mental illness is talk about it. Never mind put yourself out there and make a game about it. Not a game as such. Sometimes there's negative connotations with the term game. This is going to be more of an experience. And I guess, as it states there on the screen in front of you, depression is experienced differently by every person who suffers from it. And that's something we need to keep in mind. So let's begin. It is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. You have a significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, that you've been seeing exclusively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, but it pays the rent. You'd like to be doing more with your life, as would your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. Wow, I think I'm still in that process, to be fair. But let's find out who Alex is. So, we've known Alex for a few months. I may skim read some of these guys because I get the feeling it's going to be quite text heavy. But the two of you hit it off pretty well, and after a series of initially awkward dates, I'm laughing because I've had plenty of those myself, you finally became a couple, much to your surprise and excitement. Alex is 3 months younger than you are and is currently a student, okay? She's got a wide variety of interests, and you sometimes worry that you might be too, inverted commas, boring for her. But Alex has been good at trying to reassure you. Your relationship consists of a lot of nights in watching Netflix, chilling Netflix, when you've both got time off work and she doesn't have classes, with the occasional social outing that she tends to have to talk you into attending. Okay. She tries to be understanding when you are in one of your moods, as she puts it, though you are starting to feel like she doesn't understand what it's like for you, and this is a source of tension in the relationship. Now that's interesting, because that reminds me that, I've had depression before. It's very easy as someone with depression to forget about the impact your mental health has on the people who care about you. And that may sound horrible, but that is what depression does to you. And it sounds like this guy's kind of going through the same thing. So our social circle is made up of a few close friends, some of which you've known from high school and some from jobs you've worked, okay? You've also made various acquaintances through reluctantly going to social events. I get the impression straight away that this guy does not like going out, which I do have sympathy with. And you keep in touch with a few friends of friends that you occasionally run into. You also have several online friends that you talk to regularly that you feel less guarded with, possibly due to communicating from the safety of being behind the keyboard. That's another interesting thing, because I think we've all seen over the last few years, people have talked endlessly about the rise of social media, but I think one thing that's pretty clear is it's very easy to talk to someone when you're not face to face with them. And, we completely going off topic here, but we could easily go into, is that because of body language? People can't necessarily see who you are, therefore you feel more secure, all sorts of reasons. But I think we can pretty much say that it is easier to talk to people when you are behind a keyboard. The gentleman here enjoys the low commitment of the friendship, since they don't expect very much of you other than to listen and share thoughts and experiences. And he is feeling fairly connected with these people. And he tends to be more honest with them than the people he reacts with in real life. That's interesting as well. So we feel incredibly nervous trying to make new friends. We're very good at talking ourselves out of going to unfamiliar places or larger social engagements, regardless of how much you may actually want to attend. Yeah, this sounds like at least social anxiety. Meeting new people stresses you out to a high degree, and this is something you wish you could work past. You admit you have a bad habit of flaking on social engagements, even with long-time friends, and are puzzled as to why some days you just can't force yourself to go and see the people that you really do care about. Those that have stuck around long enough to be that close with you understand this is something that you do on occasion, and they do accept it, even if they chide you for it sometimes. That's just mates. However, you have had friends in the past give up trying to maintain the friendship because of this trait of, sometimes just deciding at the last minute you can't go out. And they sometimes take that as a personal slight, or eventually getting tired of trying to track you down. You do feel guilty about this, but are not quite sure how to change. Okay. So, at the moment, we know that we have a girlfriend called Alex. We have very few close friends, but we do have some acquaintances beyond that. However, we are acutely aware that we don't like to be out. Even if we want to be out, it's a struggle. So what do we do for our day job? So you have a day job which is nothing really special. You've started out receiving minimum wage, but we've stayed around long enough to be making enough to support ourselves. It's dull and unrewarding, and most days you feel just like anyone could do it. So there's a lack of confidence there, there's a lack of motivation, perhaps a bit of self-belief as well. You have a hard time relating to most of your co-workers, so you mostly keep to yourself and get the work done while you're there. There are one or two people you chat with, though you wouldn't consider yourself close with them. A lot of days lately you have a really hard time getting out of bed and forcing yourself to go in. You're starting to wonder how long you can keep this up. So yeah, motivation is definitely a problem here. And, that feeling of not wanting to get up in the morning is a sign of depression, especially if it's long term, over 2 weeks or so. You'd really like to find another job in your field of interest, but feel like you are underqualified every time you look at job postings. Sometimes you think about going back to school, but you will be unsure how you would be able to support yourself and wonder if the degree would really help anyway. Now that's interesting, because about a year ago, I actually, I suffer from anxiety at times, and I actually decided to go back to college to study to be a counsellor. But that process of making that decision took me, I would say, around a year from when I first thought of it to actually signing up and going for it. And that was because I thought, well, what if I do the training, but I've already got a full-time job? What if I can't manage both? And then what am I going to do to support myself and what this, that, and, I almost talked myself out of it. And what changed for me in the end was I kind of wrote everything down and I said, right, if I do this, then I do that, then I do that, these are the benefits, these are the things I'll have to watch out for, but maybe I can talk with work to get them resolved at the time. And I split things into segments instead of it being one big, ooh, let's go for this, and then one day, maybe I'll change career, whatever. I just split it down into let's start with a level 2, let's do then the level 3, etc. But what the one thing anxiety does is it makes me certainly from my own experience, that's all I can speak from, it makes me indecisive and it makes me not trust my own judgment. So yeah, it took me a year to reach that point. So, you're also dealing with motivation issues that sometimes make dealing with these things difficult, in the process of figuring out what to do and how to go about it, like we've just discussed, the indecision, motivation. You feel like this is probably your fault and on bad days can feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy, but you're not quite sure how you can break out of it or how other people deal with those feelings. Other people deal with those feelings, that's for me, we're very good. If you've got a mental illness, you're very good at hiding it more than likely. I know I am. And you have to hide it because of the stigma, that's one thing. Secondly, because you need to do your day job, you need to support yourself. So it can't control you, at least all the time. The difficulty is with a mental illness is hiding it is tiresome, it's draining, it's really, really, the fatigue I've had from battling through days where I didn't want to be where I was, you wouldn't believe it. You spend a lot of nights fixating on thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it other than lose sleep. And as we all know, sleep is a big part of keeping both physically and mentally healthy. It is an unseasonably warm Wednesday evening. You've spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so you've found your job motivation flagging more than usual. You've been in a fog practically all day today, going through the motions without even realizing what you're doing. I'm sure we can all attest to that at some point. And yet time seems to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out that when your boss approaches you to tell you that it's dead and you can go home early, it barely registers with you. As you walk home, the streets hiss from the recent rainfall. You know that your significant other, so that's Alex, will be in classes until late, another couple hours at least. You briefly consider using this serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project that you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. What is this project? A while back, you and some of your older friends were out at a bar catching up. After liquefying considerably more of your paycheck than was perhaps responsible, and ending up thoroughly in your cups, you open up to the only people you really consider yourself close to and end up launching into a drunken tirade about the meaninglessness of your utterly menial job and ultimately your own existence. Right, okay. Having never really seen you in such a state before, your friends were briefly taken aback by your sudden uncharacteristic outburst. Because I'm guessing, this guy sounds like he's normally quite quiet and reserved. So yeah, that would be a bit of a shock for them. One of your friends suggested that you get involved with your hobby on a more regular long-term basis, suggesting that spending your energy on something you actually care about might help you to better cope with the rubbishness of your 9 to 5. Well, that's a good idea, actually, to be fair, because hobbies and interests and things that are fun are great for mental health. And, if your hobby happens to be going running or playing tennis or whatever, that's also great for your physical health. So, yeah, that's a great idea. Although you were embarrassed that you let your guard down and you felt self-conscious at seeming to have single-handedly brought the mood down at the table, you convinced yourself on the taxi ride home that maybe it could be worth trying out. It is worth trying out. Do it. You began your project some months ago and have miraculously managed to keep at it, though your level of motivation and subsequent effort rises and falls considerably. That's just par for the course, We're not all 100% every day. While you were surprised when you started at how good it felt to actually work on something you were passionate about, lately you found it hard to muster the energy to really care about even this. What is the project? Just tell me. I'd like to think, because I love Lego, right? And, I've got loads of Lego sets that I like to make up. It gives me a focus, gets me out of my own mind. I'd like to think it's, a Lego project like Hogwarts Castle or something like that. Yes, I'm a bit nerdy. So, as soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you can feel a panic creeping in from the back of your brain unbidden. All you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing less than insurmountable. By the time you arrive home and change out of your uncomfortable work clothes, the stress is weighing down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, you feel suddenly and absolutely exhausted and feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Do you? Now we have some options here. Do you 1. Order some food, grab a drink and hunker down for a night of work? Do you 2. Reluctantly sit down at your desk and try and make yourself do something? 3. Turn on the TV, telling yourself you just need a quick half hour to unwind from work? Or 4. Crawl into bed. You're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything anyway. Now, again, credit to the creators here on the left-hand side, because what they've done here is, for those of you who've not experienced depression and may be watching this, option 1 is there, and it's crossed out because it's probably impossible. The way the guy is feeling at the moment, down here, you are depressed, interaction exhausting, you are withdrawn. It is not possible for him to just sit down, order some food, grab a drink and hunker down. He is not in the right frame of mind for that. Option 2, reluctantly sit down at your desk and try and make yourself do something. That's probably something he could try. Option 3, turn on the TV, telling yourself you just need a quick half hour to unwind from work. That may be an option as well. It may de-stress him enough that he can sit down and do a little bit of work. Or 4, crawl into bed, you're so stressed. That is not the right option. In my experience, I have done 2, 3 and 4 on many occasions when I felt down. Probably number 4 more often than I'd like to admit. But all that's doing is postponing the inevitable, that he still wants to do that work, he still needs to do it. So I'm going to go for option number 3, turn on the TV. Maybe after half an hour you'll be able to sit down and get on with some work. Just a half hour of TV, you tell yourself, absently grasping for the remote. You don't so much sit down on the couch as sink into it. You turn on the TV and start going through your usual channel routine. After a few cycles of this, you realize you're really not doing much more than thumb calisthenics and absently killing time. I'm sure we've all been there at times. You turn on Netflix, you turn on Amazon Prime, you cycle through, and then literally 20 minutes, half an hour later, you haven't actually picked anything to watch. So he then checks the clock and sees that over 20 minutes have already passed since he sat down. As your self-imposed time limit creeps ever nearer, you become more and more anxious. You stand up and walk to the fridge, telling yourself, I'll just have a quick sandwich and get to work after that. Can't be productive on an empty stomach, right? As you eat, you start pacing around the apartment, heading past your bedroom in the process. You stop in the doorway as if physically unable to cross the threshold. Familiar waves of exhaustion start racking you, and you feel simultaneously tired and panicked. You close the door and head back to the couch. I feel really sorry for this guy. That paragraph there really, it reminds me of, about a couple of years ago. I can't swim, okay, and I can't swim because I'm deaf in one ear, and the infection in my ear prevented me ever learning how to swim. But I wanted to go to swimming baths with my partner because she wanted to, and the time I reached the swimming baths, I was literally maybe 3 or 4 steps from going into, where the lockers are, where you get changed. And I just froze. And I felt that exhaustion, panic, tiredness, and my feet just stopped moving. And I had to say it to her, I could only go backwards. It was almost like my breathing got faster, and it was a horrible experience. And it feels like what I'm reading is, this fella's having the same kind of experience. It's still early yet, you tell yourself. As long as I get to work in an hour, I'll have plenty of time to be productive. As you flip channels and let CSI and Jeopardy reruns wash over you, you sink deeper into the couch, feeling at once encroached upon and also shielded, and being literally swallowed up by it. As the second hour draws nearer, sure enough, you find yourself getting anxious and jittery. You repeat the fridge pace couch process a couple more times before you look at the clock and realize that several hours have passed, and not surprisingly, you've managed to get no work done. Right, before we move on, I think I'll stop that episode here. I'm aware that there's a lot of heavy stuff in this, so I don't want to make the episodes too long. But what I'll say now is, if you've watched so far, thank you. But also, if any of this at all has, made you think, made you wonder, if you're struggling yourself, please, get in touch with your doctor. Go and see a counsellor if you need it, or contact the Samaritans. Mind, there's loads of options out there to help you. There is always hope. Okay? So, that being said, we will come back to Depression Quest in the future. As I said at the beginning, I think it's really brave that these guys have created this experience. And so far, for me, in terms of what I've experienced with depression, it is pretty much spot on. I love how they put the options on there, and one option is crossed out, which means, that is just not possible. Because I think that's the one thing that people who haven't experienced depression don't understand. Some things just aren't possible when you're feeling that way. So, that's fantastic, and well done to them for that. I'll put this game in the description below. It's free, it's on Steam, if you want to experience it for yourselves. So, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next episode.